Hi guys! I thought today I would tell you a little bit about my journey into becoming a UX and UI designer. I'm Fiona. I'm a South African product designer. Everyone has a very different journey into UX and UI. I think the field is so new that you haven't really been able to study it until recently. So everyone else has kind of found their way into it through different avenues. And I thought today I'd just share my story. Maybe we should just start at the very beginning. For those of you who might be asking, what is UX and UI anyway? UI stands for user interface. It's basically when you look at a website and you see the buttons and the colors and the imagery directing your attention to the right place in the hierarchy and the size and the color and the structure. Yeah, it's a whole field of visualization on its own. It's everything that you see on the screen. UX, on the other hand, stands for user experience. That doesn't necessarily just look at what you see on screen, but more of the journey and the process to using it. So it takes a deeper approach to the page and starts looking at the structure of the buttons. Oh, do we have the right buttons here? Is it called the right thing? If I see this button, will I know that I can click on it and I know what it's going to do? Or does the user not even have a faintest clue what that button will do or where it will take them? It also looks often at like the journeys of things. So if you think about registering on a website, that whole process, like what is the first screen you see, what is the second screen you see, how does it finish, how do you know you're finished with the registration process, how do you know you can log in now, that kind of thing. Let's go back to my university days. I studied BA Information Design at the University of Pretoria. It was very broad and we did a lot of things, like we did ad campaigns and branding. We did some video animation and editing. We also did a little bit of websites here and there. My journey kind of kick-started was we needed to do a minimum, I think, of 4 or 6 weeks of internship. Now we could choose where we wanted to intern and in which field. So it was very much open-ended. And I kind of took the approach of asking anyone and everyone I knew what did they do and if I could intern there. I ended up finding a friend who was working for a small tech startup at the time, and he said actually they take on interns and they design apps and websites. I ended up interning at 2 places. The one was the biggest producer of medals and badges in South Africa. Yes, medals and badges, like those that you get at the end of a race that hang around your neck. The second place I started working was a startup called Platform 45. I enjoyed my time designing for websites so much in the 2 weeks that I was there. I kind of ended up telling the CEO my last day, like, I really loved working for your company. I loved what you were about. Yeah, I just like gave him a whole bunch of compliments, and then right at the end there, I slipped in like a one-liner that, yeah, when I'm done studying, I would love to work for you guys. To which he completely surprised me by responding, when you finish studying? I was kind of like, the end of the year. So that's how I landed my first job in the industry. So when I started working for this small startup, my focus was primarily just UI because I'd come more out of a graphic design background and I didn't know much about UX. UX was very much an emerging kind of field at the time. I think it was a bit more established overseas, but in South Africa, it was still very, very new. I also actually dove into front-end development just to understand, I guess, more what I was designing for, to understand the constraints and how to design for something that actually needs to be built in the end. I did not end up going into front-end development. It is not something that I really enjoyed. I do not think I was a very good coder. I actually did code a website or 2 from scratch, and I'm so sorry to whoever had to take over the maintenance of those websites after me, because I think my code was a mess. During my time there, I worked on projects from start to end. We were also very small teams. We would normally be one designer paired with one developer. So I had the opportunity to kind of learn to do a bit of everything. After a year, I think, of working there, we actually got a UX specialist in. She taught me a lot, so it was really useful to have somebody who was a specialist in UX who I could work alongside. Sometimes she would come in and take over and do just the UX and then hand over to the UI. And then as I learned more and gained more experience, she would kind of just guide me on my projects and give some input. And then also just run it with the user testing because I didn't have time for that. And she would just do that bit and I would do the rest of the flows and the journeys. At the time, I think I was doing UX without realizing I was doing UX. It's such a difficult space to be in when you start in a new kind of field, to know what you don't know, right? You're like, I know I don't know a lot of things, but where do I start and how do I know what almost the tick box items are or the process is that I need to follow from start to finish? I think that's where having somebody who was a UX specialist that I could go to in person helped a lot. But I did substitute a lot of like my learnings through YouTube and through blogs, just reading a whole bunch of stuff on a whole bunch of different topics and then slowly but surely piecing it together. During my time at Platform 45, I started building up my UX portfolio. I would take the apps that I was working on or the apps that I would use on an everyday basis and kind of apply my UX brain to it and put that in a portfolio. That is the portfolio that I then took to apply for my next job. When I applied for my next job, I applied for something that was still kind of in UI because that's where my expertise really lay, but I wanted to start bridging into more of that UX role. I really enjoyed the process and I enjoyed the problem-solving aspect of it. I didn't just want to make something pretty, and I wanted to be part of the process. I wanted to be part of the difficult questions, part of the journey. When I start out, I'm already envisioning what this thing could be. I really love the end-to-end journey. I don't like to hand off my project midway and then see somebody else just pick it up and carry on. I ended up getting that job. I'm currently a consultant for Free Thinking. I've worked for lots of corporates. I've worked for South Africa's oldest and largest bank. I'm currently working for South Africa's largest medical aid company. During my time as a consultant, I have really had an opportunity to actually get more stuck into the UX. The projects were bigger and the teams were bigger, which allowed for that specialization and that focus to really come in with the UX. It means the budget is bigger, so there's actually time and money and effort put into doing proper research and laying a good foundation before you come in and just do the UI and make the thing look beautiful and work seamlessly. That was my journey. I hope you enjoyed hearing just a little bit of how I got to be a UX and UI designer. If you want to know how you can kind of start this journey, I have a couple of resources that I will be chatting to you about in my next video.